Last week in Michigan politics, as dueling visits to the U.S.-Mexico border from both the current and former presidents of the United States played out, local members of Congress tell us how the situation at the border could impact us right here in West Michigan. Plus, the Michigan Republican Party holds their state convention to award the last of the state's presidential delegates amid a period marked by turbulence. We recap where the party is now and how it may impact the race for the White House. And the now former Ottawa County Administrator is speaking out after the county board voted to remove him, what he says he noticed while in office, and where he goes next. I'm Josh Alburtus, and this is your 13 on Your Side Rundown. We begin with your voice, your vote. Former President Donald Trump swept the Republican nominating contests here in Michigan, which closed out last week as he secured the state's final delegates at the GOP convention in Grand Rapids. The convention was originally planned to happen in Detroit, but after a judge ruled former GOP Chair Christina Caramo was properly removed from her position, new chair Peter Hoekstra moved that convention to Grand Rapids. While the primary last month awarded 16 of the state's 55 Republican delegates for the convention in Milwaukee this summer, 39 were decided at this convention. The inviting in causing concern for Republicans, but Saturday they showed they're unified in their efforts to elect former President Donald Trump. Still, local experts say the party's power struggle could hurt them at the polls in November. 13 on Your Side's Julie Koharic has more from those experts about the impact of the party split and what things could mean for the year ahead.
Divided on party lines and lines drawn within the party.
Both parties have their issues here.
President Biden losing favor with his own team. More than 100,000 Democrats voting uncommitted in the primary.
We need to show President Biden and all the other candidates that we support Palestine.
Largely a protest of his response to the war in Gaza.
The Democrats have the issues with the Arab and Muslim vote.
But for the Republicans,
if we win Michigan, we win the whole ball game.
It's an internal power struggle.
The state party is a mess. The state party is an absolute, complete smoldering fire of wreckage.
Two people claiming to be in charge of the party.
This is not about me, okay? It's not about Christina.
Pete Hoekstra hosting his convention in Grand Rapids this weekend, giving Trump nearly all of the state's delegates.
What a crowd.
That's the caucus recognized by the National Party. Former Chair Christina Caramo also trying to host her own convention.
You need a strong state party to put you across the finish line.
A judge ruled this effort unsuccessful, but it's still telling of larger issues.
I'm much more interested in looking at what's going on with the Senate primary in Michigan and also sort of actually these convention fights and how well they're managed. Not necessarily who wins out, but how well they're managed.
Michigan solidifying its early spot as a state to watch in 2024.
Demographically, the state is becoming more sort of a battleground state.
Neither candidate winning on popularity.
Democrats still look like they have an advantage within the state in terms of popular support. Now, this is true for everyone, most everyone except Biden.
A party and state divided.
There's a stubborn minority of Republicans who don't want to vote for Trump.
In an already divisive election.
For 13 on Your Side, I'm Julie Koharic.
And to Ottawa County now, where former County Administrator John Gibbs is sharing his side of the story after he was terminated by the county board amid multiple allegations were made against him. We spoke with him one-on-one to get his take.
When the motion passes.
Ottawa County terminating the employment of their embattled and controversial administrator. Now he's responding.
I would like to say it was surprising, but unfortunately it wasn't too surprising. Given the direction things have been going the past few weeks, I kind of felt this was coming.
In their vote, commissioners determined Gibbs, quote, had been dishonest, committed gross misconduct, and or committed willful malfeasance. It comes just about a week after the board placed Gibbs on administrative leave.
At first, I thought it was related to the stress of the situation, to the lawfare, to the media reports constantly, sharing false narratives. However, concerns became more pronounced in December and in January, and board members began to tell me they thought the administrator had begun to disregard some of their direction.
After placing Gibbs on leave, Board Chair Joe Moss published a letter detailing multiple complaints from county employees, alleging Gibbs did things including making threats to physically harm Joe Moss and County Legal Counsel Jack Jordan, making disparaging comments about female commissioners and commissioners of Protestant faith, and creating a degrading and hostile work environment. Claims Gibbs says are false.
If someone doesn't want to go along with it, they come full guns against them like they did with me and like they've done with others also.
All commissioners voted for the measure except for Commissioner Doug Zylstra. Posting to the social media platform X, Zylstra explained why he did so, saying, quote, "While I understand there are a number of serious accusations against Mr. Gibbs, especially the allegation of threat to bodily harm Counsel Jordan and the allegation that he made degrading remarks about some of the female commissioners, I believe we have not given the matter full due process."
I don't want to go to litigation. I don't want to have this kind of conflict. I'd rather have resolved it peacefully, which is what I offered them, but instead they choose to go on the attack. And so I have the right to respond and to seek justice.
Gibbs' tenure that began last year was often marked by controversy, including what some members of the public believe to be lack of transparency.
I didn't necessarily feel it was my place to go and speak to the media in that manner. Typically, county administrators don't really do that.
But the rapid about-face in his public relationship with many commissioners, especially given his claims he noticed problems within months of his hiring, begged a certain question.
If you discovered that in the first few months, why did you stay on? Why did you continue with that message, at least publicly?
Sure, I mean, that's a very good question because I wanted to do what's right. I knew that the board didn't really have anyone among the board members who knew a lot about how the government works, about good governance, about policy making, about budget making. So I wanted to try to stick it out so I could provide that for them and really work for the people of the county who I know need that in their leadership.
Barring any potential legal actions or outcomes, the county will now go through the process of finding a new administrator in the coming weeks. Also in Ottawa County, County Commissioner Rebecca Curran announced her bid to become Michigan's next U.S. Senator last week. Curran told 13 on Your Side in a statement, quote, "This is my country and I will not sit idly by while others try to destroy it. Therefore, I am announcing my candidacy for the United States Senate for the state of Michigan." She was elected to the Ottawa County Board in 2022. While a Republican, she is not currently affiliated with the ultra-conservative group Ottawa Impact. She is running for the seat of retiring Democratic Senator Debbie Stabenow. And Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist made a stop in Grand Rapids Tuesday to promote Governor Whitmer's proposal to expand childcare and make pre-K free for all Michigan families. We were there to bring you the full story.
It's the turtle!
Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist paying a visit to a local childcare center in Grand Rapids Monday, pushing for proposals from Governor Gretchen Whitmer's administration to expand funding for childcare and pre-K for Michigan families.
We believe that everyone should have a right for their children to know there are other adults in the community that care about them and that care about their success and want to invest in their success.
It's an investment officials say would be a step forward for building the state, as local officials and advocates have warned of what they say is a shortage.
Kent County is experiencing a crisis in terms of child care right now.
It's the administration's first high-profile visit to Grand Rapids on the topic since announcing in February just how much they were asking for in this year's state budget. Under their proposal, the state would put $159 million toward expanding state-funded pre-K. But as talks continue, the full budget is one that could face some reshaping before a final version is put forward.
I'll always stand for working together, getting things done from our communities. Happy to work bipartisanly. At the end of the day, we have to recognize that these are hard-working taxpayer dollars. We have to make sure that we spend them prudently. And I frankly thought that there was a little bit of fluff in this budget, actually quite a bit.
But when it comes to childcare, administration officials have said they're confident in what they've proposed.
We believe that this is an opportunity because of the strong fiscal management that we've demonstrated over the last several years. We have an opportunity to invest this money in this way, and so it's prudent. We've done the math, and we think it's going to work, and we've seen people have confidence in us the way they had confidence over the last several years.
Michigan State's Board of Trustees are asking Governor Gretchen Whitmer to weigh in on the future of two of its members. The board held a special meeting earlier this week, less than 1 week after a report by a Washington, D.C. law firm said trustees Rima Vassar and Dennis Deno did violate some university policies. According to the Lansing State Journal, the board voted to censure the two and refer misconduct allegations to Whitmer. Under Michigan law, Whitmer can use her executive powers to remove the two. Vassar denies the findings, but did step down as board chair before that meeting. Governor Gretchen Whitmer has not responded to the vote. Last week, she said she's monitoring the situation closely.
I would not have had such a great outcome if it wasn't for an AED and someone who knew what to do.
At the state capitol, testimony from a young man whose life was saved by a defibrillator at school. Alex Bowerson told lawmakers if it wasn't for that AED and a trained professional, he likely would have died. He was at the state capitol for a hearing on bills meant to provide better guidelines for schools in the event of a cardiac emergency.
December 15th, 2022, my life changed forever.
College freshman Alex Bowerson recounted for lawmakers Tuesday his experience of a sudden cardiac emergency while still in high school, telling them he likely would not have come out alive if not for a nurse's quick actions and an automatic external defibrillator, or AED.
I was only in a terrible rhythm for about 2 minutes before that AED shocked me, and it led to an incredible outcome, and I would not be alive today if it was not for this AED and for someone who knew what to do.
Bowerson, alongside others, testified in support of two House bills aimed at strengthening public schools' plans for cardiac emergencies and clearer guidelines on the placement of AEDs.
Specifically, my bill would require an automated external defibrillator to be accessible within 1 to 3 minutes of a cardiac emergency, which is determined through data and best practices.
While the state already has requirements for schools to have cardiac emergency response teams, these bills aim to go farther. They would lay out more specific guidelines for the placement of AEDs, training needed for school staff, and a requirement that all athletic coaches in high schools be CPR and AED certified.
Schools don't have clear guidelines, so this bill will help set those up and give schools a roadmap on how to implement these safety measures.
But even on issues where there may be broader support, early draft bills often come with questions from lawmakers.
I'm just not sure how a school would know what 1 to 3 minutes means. Are there people in the hall? Is it a certain time of day that would change that? And I think that opens up schools up for lawsuits.
I think that some of those details are going to be ironed out in this substitute, but we're working hard to make sure that we're prioritizing the health and well-being of our student athletes.
The bills still need to pass out of committee before moving on to the full House for a vote.
And it's the first week of March, and this is all that's left of the snow at Cannonsburg ski area in Kent County. Dirty snow with patches of grass. The unusually warm winter has been tough on businesses that rely on cold weather sports to make money. Federal aid is being made available to businesses in 42 Michigan counties, but as you look at that map on your screen, in West Michigan, only Mecosta County is included. Businesses in Kent, Muskegon, Ottawa, and Allegan do not qualify for federal relief dollars. 13 on your side's Lauren Baker has reaction from Cannonsburg.
This season was not the season the team at Cannonsburg ski area wanted to see this year.
It was sad watching, the last chair go up. Everyone was just kind of silent on the deck, a lot of our customers, and you could tell everyone felt bad.
Left with nothing but patches of grass, empty lift chairs, and bills, a business like this one could use all the help they could get. But that help won't be coming from a new round of federal loan funding for small snow businesses.
It's extremely disappointing this year, overall of the years, and when we could especially have used it, because since we've been open in 1965, this has been by far the worst winter with lack of cold temperatures and lack of snow.
The governor's office is encouraging small snow businesses in 42 counties in the state, excluding Kent and Muskegon counties, to apply for federal loan assistance from the Small Business Administration. These counties have been deemed to be covered by a disaster designation by the Department of Agriculture.
Well, I'm happy that other ski areas are getting it because I know how much it takes to run a ski area. We could really have used it.
The ski area lost nearly $1 million from the season, laid off 3/4 of its staff, and stopped making investments because of the short season. And while they say they're still hoping Kent and Muskegon counties will eventually get get added to the list. They say they're going to do everything they can to stay open and around for many years to come.
Cannonsburg ski area isn't going anywhere. I know a lot of customers were reaching out and saying are you going to be okay? And ultimately we will be okay.
And as general election season gets closer, there's one issue that some are saying is a priority for local voters. We explain how this issue may impact us more than you may think.
Nearly 2,000 miles long, the southern U.S. border can be seen all the way from space. But perhaps even bigger than its geographical size is the impact it has on U.S. policy and the lives of everyday people. Even over 1,000 miles away from that border, immigration remains top of mind for many in Michigan.
It is probably close to the #1 issue that I hear about from our constituents.
The growing national conversation giving way to dueling trips to the border last week from former President Donald Trump and current President Joe Biden. But for Congresswoman Hillary Scholten, who herself visited that border earlier this year, she says it's not just the southern border states that are impacted by immigration.
Our connection to the Great Lakes as well as Canada makes us within a geographic enforceable area to have all parts of Michigan be considered a border state from CBP's perspective. Migrants who are crossing our southern border are also not staying in Texas and California, Arizona. They're traveling up to northern states as well.
Under the Biden administration, expulsions and apprehensions of non-citizens have spiked amid a rise in illegal border crossings. But even for legal immigration, Scholten believes while West Michigan would accept new residents, immigration without order poses multiple problems.
It's inhumane, it's not fiscally responsible, and it presents major national security issues that need to be addressed.
On Capitol Hill, some top Republican lawmakers declining to throw their support behind a bipartisan deal meant to ease border issues.
I just don't believe that the Senate bill, as I've explained in all of our statements, meets the criteria that's necessary to solve the problem.
The deal's demise in the Senate came shortly after former President Trump urged lawmakers not to pass it, saying on Truth Social, quote, "A border deal now would be another gift to the radical left Democrats."
We are unfortunately in a place right now where Republican leadership is not even trying to hide the fact that they are willing to play politics with our national security and with people's lives.
Many congressional Republicans, however, saying it's a matter of substance, opting instead for a more hardline border bill passed by the House last year and calling for the president to take executive action.
President Biden could stop this immediately by simply requiring, the building of a barrier, allowing Texas to even have their own barrier, remain in Mexico in terms of applying for asylum, and making sure that we actually deport people who are breaking the law.
While a deal may not be on its way to the president's desk, based on what these members of Congress have heard, it's likely to stay a top issue in West Michigan heading into November.
And that's the rundown for your week in Michigan politics. Be sure to keep up with all the top political stories of the day, both on air and online at 13onyourside.com. We'll see you next week.